Hello, hello. Welcome to the virtual Latino Arts Festival, the Latino Arts Foundation. I believe we're also recording this for the Midwest Chicana podcast, and I'm super excited to just get this out into the world. I'm here with Chico Sierra. Say hello.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Who's out there?
And my favorite part about the festival, and even it being virtual, is it kind of connects, just Latinos in our community and artists. I'm normally a songwriter or a theater artist, and Chico, you do visual art. Is that right?
Yeah, I do visual art. I've done some writing and play music occasionally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you film. Not you don't make film, but you use virtual or visual media as well. Sort of like.
Yeah, occasionally, yeah. I'll make like editing video and stuff like that. Occasionally when it's necessary, like when I'm asked to. It's just sort of utilitarian. I don't get too creative with it because I'm not, yeah.
Man of many hats. You're wearing a lovely hat as well. One of the
Thanks,
many.
thanks. It's pretty old. This thing is stinky, but I gotta wash it at some point. It's about 2 years old.
Well, just to start, I'm curious, when did you begin? Like, were you just a really creative kid? Were you always drawing? Like, was it kind of like a calling that found you?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Just I didn't. It never really like. It didn't become a thing that I was doing, like that I saw as like a profession or something I was serious about until I was in high school.
Mhm.
And I mean, all through middle school, I did. I got really into graffiti and stuff, and so that's when I took it seriously, I guess. Like I got into it and started sharing drawings with friends and like we do black books and sketch books and stuff, and started tagging like around like 8th grade, and then that was
What
my main.
neighborhood or like what part did you
Oh, this was in
initially?
El Paso, Texas. I'm from El Paso originally, so yeah, down south, the
Do
mid
you do you
southwest.
think any of it's still there? If you took a trip down, you could find
Oh
any of the
no, no,
tags.
I'm 40, man. If it's still there, they need to. They got some infrastructure issues. It's been a while. And
Um,
I was never like, I mean, I did like, we'd do like streets and stuff, but I was never like in a crew or anything because it's a little too crazy for me.
and was there a moment when you were young where you sort of connected this way I'm expressing myself? Like, there's a commercial market for this, or there's another world like beyond El Paso, or did you have any influences that made you want to share it or just continue?
When I was a kid, I mean, I had dreams of doing a lot of things. I think when you're Chicano or you're raised like in that environment, a lot of things are like pushed at you, but like you're sort of put in this position where you're like having to decide. People give you roles, right? Like they're like, me being a Chicano and growing up in El Paso, like fine art wasn't like necessarily something people like strive for. So it was like very immediate, sort of like be a tattoo artist, design T-shirts, design like, it's all geared towards those sorts of things. And I've actually like tried several of those things. Like I apprenticed as a tattoo artist, and a lot of that stuff just wasn't my thing. And I mean, I did love graffiti, but it was more about expression and stuff like that. And but I never really got into design. I went to school for it, but it was so like I mean I just drew and I painted and was always pretty creative with that stuff. But I wasn't like pursuing a career in it for a long time. It was just something I did all the time. Like I'd hustle, I'd try and like sell work for money, you know what I mean? Like just any sort of avenue to sort of create. And I started doing murals for different churches when I went through this like Christian phase when I was younger. And I did get paid a few times to do some, not enough. I still have the bone to pick with like the churches I was involved with. Like wanted to like support my creativity, but paid me like nothing to do. And I did some large pieces of different churches and stuff. But yeah, I was just like, I love drawing and I design things for people. And that was it. And I think just over time, I just kept at it and it was just sort of my own thing. Worked like general labor jobs for a long time after like I dropped out of high school and did the church thing for a long time. I was like a missionary, but there's always that like like my comfort zone was just sort of keeping my like writing and doing artwork and stuff like that, writing songs and stuff. I think for a long time that was my thing. Like I wanted to play music, but only because I saw it as a more acceptable, like I kind of wanted to distance myself from my culture. So I was playing like folk songs and stuff. I don't know. And then I started like, it's convoluted. Like my creative like journey has been sort of up and down and in and out of a lot of different things.
Well, I also think I will confess I was on your Instagram earlier, and you played the guitar and you called it hashtag Chicano Blues, and I is that your term? I've never even heard that. I love that.
I'm sure it's been used before, but I like old, like Southern, like Robert Johnson type blues, but I also love like oldies, and so there's sort of like a I don't know. I like that, the idea of that sort of coming together as like because there isn't like Chicano blues, and like why not? Like it's like this American sort of like a tradition to have like like blues music, but no, it's I don't think I mean it's not necessarily like a style. It's just a hashtag I made up because it was funny. I named a song that actually for this. There's a Kansas City compilation, a bunch of different musicians organized by Robert Castillo. Created a compilation of songs to support KC tenants. So I've played music for a long time, like just randomly, and I have all sorts of songs, and I change the names all the time. They can be like I record them at different times, and I just put them online. But this time I recorded it. I put on drums and like did a whole thing, and so it was like a fully constructed song, which I really hadn't done before, and I couldn't think of a name, so I was like, Chicano Blues sounds funny or weird or just kind of whatever, And
what I like about Chicano art, or even the name Chicano, is like it's a for us by us kind of thing, and and it's not even in I think the main American zeitgeist, not even a term most people know. And it's interesting when we make folk art or in terms of even like murals or folk songs or pop songs, like there is this liminal space, right? And the art gets to sort of exist in that space and build these connections and build these bridges between other American forms. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing about, and that's why I identify as Chicano, and why like I sort of, because it is an American, like like my family's been in El Paso for generations, like I think I'm like fourth generation, but we're like deep, like it's a different culture than Mexican culture. Like, and it's vastly different than Mexican culture and vastly different than American culture. Sort of like it's like when people dog on Tex-Mex for not being Mexican enough, I'm like, it's Chicano, man. Like we put cheese on it. That's how we eat, And so there's sort of like El Paso is a whole different world, and that's where I find the like most of my resources for inspiration and stuff is still like, I've been in Kansas City for a long time, but all these things that I never really like expressed about like how my family sort of operated and how my family expressed culture, like I think now it's like taking shape, and I use Chicano, like I hashtag Chicano Art or whatever, and it's a term that I think differentiates, American Latinos that exist in this sort of like middle lane, where we're like sort of, and it's really like for a long time ostracized by both sides, to be, be honest, and just thinking about being a Chicano and the term, and lately I've been thinking about it a lot because it is sort of like Latinos have this like variety, the diversity of cultures and genetic backgrounds, and so it's like it ranges from like Afro Latino on to like European Latinos are more like white, and so there is a sort of trying to like giving somebody a label isn't necessarily like this divisive thing. It's just like I need to find myself and express myself, and this is who I am, and I get to say that, like I get to, because, and I think there is parameters, like I was raised in a household with, my two sisters are black, and my stepdad who raised me is black. I don't have the audacity or like even right to call myself black, because it is about experience as well, and I think Latinos, especially now in America, like are sort of coming to terms with their own like internal racism and misogyny and all that stuff, and like having to, I think there's a sort of tug of war of like what should be kept and what should be like sort of left behind, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. Labels are a funny thing. They can
Oh,
be divisive and also like inclusive.
oh, absolutely. And evolving, or like Chicano, Chicanexo, and also even like to the importance of the US Census for Latino communities.
Yeah.
Like they keep the ethnicity versus race categories. And it's almost, I think, limiting, like, do you like, like or even almost feels like a barrier to fill it out, right? Asking these really complicated questions about just also while being an American, right? And figuring out where you come from and how to honor where you come from and your family,
Yeah, because a lot of people don't have that like knowledge, like a Latino fills out a census and it's like, there's also the, uh, sort of you're Latino, but you're also like indigenous, like, and where do you fall? You're being an American, but you're also indigenous American by like just being in a place, and
Yeah.
I think that's why like, the whole like this whole time period is like things need to change, and like a lot of things are coming to light, and just how we do, like just the census alone is this thing. It's like, why are we we're given a list of things that we can claim, like instead, why isn't it just like a space we can say, this is who I am? And if it gets crazy, it gets crazy, you know what I mean? Like things get crazy anyway, like we're sort of like, and same thing with gender. It's like, here's two things you can choose from, even though that like scientifically there's a variety of ways you can go, you know what I mean? Like, and we're sort of given, we're stuck in these like these small labels, and I think at some, at some point in time people are like, oh, this is divisive, and it's like it's exclusive, like it excludes people from sort of feeling good about how they're being represented, I guess. And that's just talking about this stuff. I don't like sort of that connects to my artwork so much, because I do pick and pull from like what I feel like my culture and where I'm from, and how I'm raised, and even like getting deep into it genetically. Like, I mean, I'm not, I haven't done a DNA test, but I know sort of my family's history, and because I think there's a lot of nuance with stuff like that, and there is like touchy ground, but that's where discussions start, when you start getting towards the edge, and you can find out like what people will accept from you and what people won't, I guess.
Yeah. I love the idea of art is, this is who I am, or it's that space that's no longer liminal. It becomes specific to the individual. So while we're forming these connections, do you think you can bring any art to the screen so that we can sort of just keep talking about it and figure out sort of this idea of where you're coming from?
Yeah, I'll just show this short video, and we can keep talking, because I don't think I shut the sound off. So, and it's just, this video is something I used recently for like a PBS project that I'm not sure what they're doing with it, but so it's sort of me in process, and sort of showing what I'm doing, and like you'll be able to see it, and you can sort of ask questions.
Great. Yeah, we're gonna toggle the screen and get this up and get this little video. And also, I believe this video can be found on your website as well, which I
it can
think
be found
might
on
be
my
going
Facebook and
your
Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram,
and up shortly on my website after this. All right, let me see if I can get it going. All right.
I think we've got it. I'm gonna add to the stream.
Cool. And I'm not, yeah, if hopefully people can see this. These are sort of different projects I've worked on. And this is a mural I've been doing. I did at Blip Roasters, the collaboration with the, here's some more murals. And I was just trying to show the difference in like some of the projects that I've done around town.
And there was one that was a Diego Rivera tribute, right? Was that the early one we saw?
That one was actually I don't know if that's on here. That was at a friend's house.
Oh, cool.
Like he has like a rental property, and he was like, "You paint this on the garage there." So I go, yeah. I was like, can I wanted to do something, with spray paint, sort of honoring Diego Rivera, to like tie two things together.
Beautiful. And who wouldn't want a mural in their garage? That's an amazing idea. I
Yeah,
should
sure.
commission one from you. I want one.
I agree. And this is at a Smalter Gallery on 39th Street. We did a virtual opening this last month, I think it was.
Oh, I love that one.
I was just showing some detail. And that's it. Oh,
and there we go. I'm going to pivot right back to us. It was so sumptuous and colorful. And also, it's kind of something you were talking about in your own personal story. There's kind of a connection between like street art and almost like religion, like religious iconography. Do you think that part of your life has informed some of these images, or?
Yeah, I mean,
does that make
not
sense?
I think so. Like, I liked when I was involved in the church, it was very like Pentecostal, like white, Pentecostal types of Vineyard Church. But when I was a kid, I was like, I loved going to Catholic church, and I would go like on my own on Sundays. Just I love the pageantry of like Catholicism, and I know they have issues and like that. I don't even want to get like because they sort of like the holders,
the ritual,
of like
the visual.
Yeah. And then you know, as I grew up, I became interested in like mythology, and then like native indigenous mythology, and even like Hinduism and just religion as a whole, and seeing like the different forms of how similar they are, and how that like what it is about the human mind that sort of expresses itself in those like in spiritual spaces. Because myself, I consider myself agnostic, leaning very heavy into being an atheist, only because you never know, and but I love, like, I think human ingenuity created this like process of dealing with a world that they didn't understand, and it almost is the basis for science, because you're like, if I sacrifice this goat, like last time I did it, I got, rain happened, so like, I'll just do it again. And, and that's just a very macabre example, but like just through like the idea of prayer and just having a church, a spiritual space, and how that creation created like a lot of artwork is based around sort of spiritualism. And so I take it and I like to deify like people that exist normally, that have no, like, I mean, because being alive in sense of time and space and like chance and the chaos of the universe, like it is a miracle that we're even alive. So like, whatever miracles that people think a saint needs to have accomplished, is like we do it every day by just continuing to go on without like losing our minds because of all the bullshit, or like just being alive. Like being here is, whatever you believe, the fact that we're still around is kind of awesome. It's a miracle, and like we should do better in our lives to sort of express the gratitude to each other and to the to nature for like letting us still exist, even though we've I think we've worn out our welcome, but we'll see.
Yes. Hopefully this stream will remain for
the
world that we're trying to save.
I say, like, I mean, and saying that, I don't mean that's a I don't want to say that all humanity, because most of humanity, I think like 90% of humanity are, beautiful, just beings that are deserve to be deified, like in my work and stuff. Is what I'm saying. It's like those people are just existing to exist for their family and friends, then these are, and then, like we have these like corporations and people in power, kings, queens, whatever, just sort of like destroying this like beautiful existence, I guess. I don't know.
Well, when you think about, especially, or at least in my family, like I grew up at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church, is like in Topeka was a big part of my family, and I think one of the first, I don't want to say, just the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe looms large visually, and I think in the hearts and the spirits, or even in the art of, I remember as a child being fascinated by like the stars on the cloak and the symbol stamping on the snake and the symbol of, honestly, these native, not Aztec symbols that sort of found their way into that image that we carry with. When you deify visually the average person, do you sort of think about those images too, and sort of sort of shaping the human form with these older symbols?
For sure. I mean, and that's the study, is just sort of like there are images like the Our Lady of whatever, like, like I always like do like Our Lady of Comfort, Our Lady of, I'll just come up with, because there are several, Our Lady of this and that and whatever. And having traveled, like I spent some time in the Philippines for like a while, and the way that they like express, like have Catholicism is different because of their indigenous beliefs versus how it was sort of expressed in Mexico and all of Latin America, like sort of the looming figure of Virgin Mary is really similar there. And it's just it is like there's shapes in there, the imagery, and it does, like, I don't know, it's just a funny thing to see how different things, like especially like Catholicism is in, like, say, Ireland versus with very like, it is Jesus male dominated, like it's just there's the cross and there's Jesus, and it's very like stark, and then here there's just like it became vibrant, and Our Lady almost takes center stage. I mean, in most cases, and that is because of the sort of worship of femininity, and I think that sort of dissipated in Europe a long time ago because the Dark Ages and like just everything else, and there's like male dominated culture, and I think I like to pull from both of those things, but I think like I do a lot of like cloaked women with because it is sort of like this, it not only is it just something that people can like identify and like sort of relate to, it is sort of, it does provide a canvas, like literally like just this, like to express something, to say something on the cloak, that sort of like the subject is sort of bathed in like this, like whatever symbolism you decide to put on this cloak, and that's sort of like something that's, like nuns and Muslim women in hijabs, it's sort of like I don't know, like you can view it different ways, and I'm not Muslim, and I don't know a lot about the significance of the hijab versus the burqa and all that stuff, so I don't want to speak to that, but just sort of we have that in our minds, it's sort of like a something that people like sort of can relate to, and that's the thing, is like pulling people in and then having them look around, like here's something you recognize, and then here's a bunch of shit that I have to say, and let's start a conversation.
Yeah, I love the idea of pulling symbolism from the past or rooting it to the present, or even just to people. And there's a term on your website called Chicano Futurism, which is I'd never really heard that before, but and I've heard of Afrofuturism, but I think that is Chicano Futurism kind of similar, or at least visually?
Yeah, I mean,
what would you say that it lands for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm inspired by Afrofuturism. There's a lot of like cool like artwork and music and stuff, and I think, and I'm pretty sure like I've heard it before within like just illustrators. And I take it, there was a while there where I was like sort of reimagining, and I sort of drifted off into a different like headspace with some of my work. But I am really interested in like in like astrophysics and like interstellar travel, things like that, and like sort of science fiction and reimagining like what like Latino centric or like indigenous centered like space suits would look like. And I sort of did a whole series on that. And I think that was, and like sort of like Latinos in space and like indigenous people in space, sort of that like, because it would be different. It would be like, I think it'd be more decorative, more like, just different, you know, like, and that's sort of where that term comes from, sort of this Latino indigenous, like inspired, like, idea of the future. And part of that was just like, you know, I was illustrating like for science fiction, like Chicano science fiction that doesn't exist, you know? So yeah, it was sort of based on that. And that was sort of a series of stuff that I was doing. And I mean, I go back and forth. I love just like thinking about, you know, space, and because indigenous, American indigenous, like there's this connection, just like, you know, in Greek and Roman, and I mean most like Aborigines and African indigenous, and like sort of connection to the stars, because you know it is there, and like because it's what we all see, you know, and they have different forms of astrology and thinking about what is going on up there. So it's combining those ideas and sort of creating a new future, because it is like like science fiction is very like white male dominated, and very like dry visually. It's just like spacesuits and yeah.
When I like kind of like building bridges to the future in a way, like I love
Yeah.
imagining that maybe there's some sort of like, I don't know, who knows, maybe there's a kid that will see a picture you've drawn that someday, you know what I mean, that maybe like almost like working backwards, right, creating the visual language of something for a book yet to be written. I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah. I mean, I love reading science fiction. I'm not a big. I think most of my writing is like very like it's different. So, but yeah, that's great. I mean, and that's something I'm looking into at the moment, is just sort of like illustrating with fellow writers, people that are sort of interested in the same thing. Just as fun side project, especially since nobody's doing anything.
Well, because you know, like it is a virtual festival because of, you know, COVID-19, and has that as an artist, I hate when people ask me this question, but I'm going to ask it to you.
Yeah.
The extra free time, or the instability of the world, or just like the ability to continue, you know, how has it affected your process, if at all?
Well, I mean, it's definitely put like you definitely start thinking about things that are like less focused on like creating expressive work and creating work that can like sell, you know,
Mm.
and trying to bridge those two things, you know, trying to find a way. Like I started making these like pillows and sort of taking images that I work with and putting them on the pillows, like painting right on them, like they're canvas. And then my mom was a seamstress. Anyway, I mean, that doesn't have anything to do with that. My mom was a seamstress, and like I have a sewing machine, and I was like, I can do this. Like, I hadn't used the sewing machine to do much. So I just started sewing these pillows because I had all this extra canvas and all this extra fabric. And so that's just something you know, you start thinking about like commercial like applications for your work, as opposed to just like creating work and trying to find a gallery. And then I think that's the hustle, is just, you know, I'm trying to bridge those two things, and like it works out sometimes, and sometimes you have to find different avenues. It's been tough because I mean, this 2019 into 2020 was weird for me because I had a son, and then he was born with cancer, and we're dealing with that. And like, so I've been sort of locked down, like not working, spending time with him because we go in and out of town for treatment. So, and then into 2020, it becomes even more like difficult to sort of navigate what we're doing with our work, or what I'm doing with my work, and how I'm trying to, keep like maintain, a good, like a living,
Yes.
and then also be there for him when we have to go out of town. So like just trying, and to be honest, like I couldn't have done it without the community here in Kansas City, like sort of like a wide range of people that have sort of like been there to help out, or like, even donations and stuff. We've had like really great support from the community, and I hope that's felt outside of my realm. Like I hope, and I've seen it. People have really come together to sort of like assist each other. And it's sort of like this beautiful thing. And I know it's not like I don't know. There's just a little bits of hope, but also it has been like, it is a little daunting, but also having a son, I'm just like, there's no room to give up, or feel like, I feel very blessed to have a kid. I mean, even though I don't know who would be blessed me considering I'm an atheist, I was just very like, I just feel good about it. And I'm glad he's in my life, and I'm glad I have my family, and I'm glad I have my community, and that we're able to support each other and give back and stuff. And even like Latino Arts Foundation, even doing this is awesome, because get the word out about different people, their artwork, and then also sort of creating community when it is super important. I know like Zoom calls and like online stuff and be going live has been, it's not the same, but it is great when people create avenues to communicate. And so I don't know.
Absolutely. Or maybe this will live on Instagram and on YouTube. Like your son gets to watch this conversation someday.
Yeah.
It's we're building our futurism.
Sure.
And I do have to say, I love going to art galleries, and I love people who can do what I can't do, which is like make visual, beautiful things. But I haven't been able to go to them, so I've only really been engaging with murals and street art, and it really does kind of make me think about Diego Rivera, or like the politics of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera as well, like art belonging to people, to the people we live with, to our communities and our neighborhoods. And I think I would love to know where your murals are, if you have any. Have you done mural work in Kansas City?
Yeah, I have. They're all on Troost, which is kind of funny. I have one on 44th and Troost at the NAR building, which is like the Black Box Theater on Troost. Mm-hmm. It used to be a convenience store, and I have like and it's run by the Charlotte Street Foundation. They sort of fund it. And
I've been there. Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
So there's a back shed they sort of let me take over, and I've actually painted. I did a few during the first days of like the Black Lives Matter protests and stuff. I really wasn't able to get out much and do, because of the COVID, and like my son is compromised. So like I was like, I could just paint, and so I just did some murals there, and luckily like Charlotte Street was cool enough to let me just go paint over murals I'd already done. And so there's those on Troost, 55th and Troost behind Urban Cafe. I just did one at Blip. There's one at I can't remember the name of the business. It's on 31st and Troost, across from Ruby Jeans. It's a tea shop. I should know the name. I have a mural in there. I'm trying to think. I've done a lot, just kind of like different places, like but currently I'm working on doing one on 63rd and Troost. We haven't started yet, but I'm going to be working with organization called Youth Ambassadors, and some of the kids are going to help me do this large anti-violence piece, anti-police violence piece, anti-violence in general, sort of based on Pablo Picasso's Guernica. Mm-hmm. We're just going to add different color and like sort of, but we're going to keep like some shapes and sort of the idea of this abstract line work but yeah, change it up a bit.
I can't wait to see that. And it's great that
Excited.
you're doing that with students. You know, I feel like
Yeah.
these poor, I feel so sorry for anyone like having to do Zoom school or feeling like disconnected. It's great that you get to build your art to connect with
Yeah,
the community.
I was actually teaching with youth ambassadors over the summer, and teaching art over like online is something different.
Yeah,
It's complicated for both sides, and like, it's hard to like motivate a student who's just at home, with sometimes not doesn't have the supplies that we're like sort of. So I don't know. I'm glad that it's going to be nice to have like a group of kids working on something like that.
Well, I can't wait to. We're gonna share as much of these links probably below in the comments, or if anyone is like commenting or can help us find these places. I'm sure on Instagram we can like link so that people can come and see some of these things because
Sure.
it's still nice outside.
Yeah, there's one. Sorry, I just want to mention this one because it's huge. It's the largest mural I've done, and I can't believe I didn't mention it. It's the McCrumman Immigration Law Office in North Kansas City, and I want to mention that because they are immigration law service. They're great people. They do great work, and they have like an immigration clinic. So I think that's great. Yeah. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna also say I hate to even have to wrap up because this has been so cool to talk to you. But is there anything else you want us to know while we're all gathered live?
I'm sure I'm going to forget something, but yeah, I mean, just keep up. I'll I post everything online, and yeah, I'll be working on mural next few weeks.
And maybe for those of us either just listening, what is your Instagram handle? Like, what's the easiest way to find you?
Chico Sierra. You punch that into anything, you're going to find me, my smiling face. Also, my partner, she runs Doña Fina Coffee. You should check them out. They're really great. I always push them. Because it's family business, and also we're doing a thing where we're like, if you nominate a teacher like weekly, if you go to the Doña Fina Facebook, you can nominate a teacher, and each week we're going to give a different teacher a bag of coffee, which is like dope.
And I feel like teachers now more than ever, they are going to need some extra
sure,
coffee. That's so.
But yeah, so that's about it. That's all I got.
Well, thank you for showing, and hopefully we can also get the link to that video if anyone wants to see it again. I'm sure we can get that shared around on Facebook. You said it's on your Facebook, right?
Yeah. I'll post it in the comments too if that's possible.
All right, Dan also, hi comments. Dan says hello. Hi, Dan Solano. And Lexivio says, thank you for sharing your gift with the community. You are appreciated. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And I'm going to go on a driving tour. I'm going to go to Ruby Jeans, and I can't wait to see, I'm going to go hunt down your murals.
Do it.
I'll take a selfie.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much, Chico.
No problem. We'll see you.